All right. So we will call to order the meeting of the Board of Trustees for June 10th, 2024 at 7:07 p.m. First item of business is roll call. Aaron Harrigan.
Here.
May.
Here.
Chris. Peter. Stephanie.
Here.
All right, so note that Peter may be joining us potentially later. All right, now we'll open it up for public virtually or here in the room. Everyone can take a few moments and please note any changes or.
I'm just wondering, did we include that bill this year, or is this just regular?
That's a good call. Scott, what are your thoughts? Town clerk.
It should be noted that the town.
What would he be on the members of?
Members of the public, yeah. Heroes. Yes. Good catch, man. Any other? Comments or adjustments? Not, do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Recommend the motion.
I recommend a motion to approve.
You're on the backside. Item 4.
I so move that the library board of trustees approve.
That needs to be edited to May. All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Peter, welcome. So we have a second. The question is posed. All in favor? To our virtual members. Stephanie?
Stephanie.
Okay. She says aye. Peter, you able to hear us?
Okay, I hear you.
Okay, great. Jan, check the, just click the drop down next to microphone. It's gonna record us talking, haha.
Jan, next. Next. Go back.
Peter, I love what you've done with the house.
Huh?
The background.
Like that background?
Where am I
So
going?
If you go to the microphone on the bottom left.
Yeah.
And the little arrow, the little carrot.
Yep.
All right, so
Here, so we're not on the meeting.
just
now.
confirm that it's, switch it to echo canceling speakerphone.
Okay.
All right. Stephanie, does that help at all?
That is so much better.
What was that?
It is so much better.
Okay. Okay.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
All right. All right. So we have a second. Question was raised. All in favor? Aye. All right. All opposed? So moved. All right. Next item of business, the chairman's report. So a lot of exciting things coming up as we enter into the summer. Summer reading is nearly upon us, and do want to say that I've heard directly from reading program from the librarians. She said she had her library meeting today to talk about summer reading. So I know there's a lot of excitement out there because it's one of our best programs for sure. There's a lot of excitement in the community. So very much looking forward to the summer, and yeah, excited for the fact that we have a teen librarian coming here, hopefully for Woods. A lot of exciting things, and yeah, just hearing quite a few good things out in the community with regard to the library. So thank you all.
So May was somewhat of a quiet month. It's the month we really look at promoting summer readings at schools and child care facilities throughout town. Some adult programs of note included a program on air frying, which was extremely popular, and I'm sad I missed. A book discussion group with the book's author and a look at our state's landscape, which actually would have liked to have attended that too. The library hosted a news conference and an award ceremony. Children and families celebrated America's favorite doll, moved around the Sherman Green, and camped out in the woods. In other words, they camped out here. We did material marketing for the Adult Reading Challenge and Mental Health Awareness Month. On social media, our group photo from CLA from the library conference remained very popular. Operationally, staff celebrated the return of Q Alert for reporting facilities issues. Nancy and I were really happy. And they got done the next day, so we're really excited. And our not many incidents, like 3 incidents. One was a wayward Mahjong kit out of Woods, Nancy handled. And then just some special report stuff. On Monday, June 3rd, the board was sent a copy of the most recent edition of the best practices for CT public libraries. Next month, we just kind of went through really the numbers. Next month, we will review, we'll go through the provided checklists and check those off and make a judgment call where we are there. And then we'll provide our analysis and plan for moving forward with the information. Some stuff from my part of the report, some security concerns were raised by the town IT department. We're working with staff, town IT, and outside partners. Remember, we share an ILS with Pequot and the museum. Basically, the information was on, all of our information was on a town server. Pequot needed to get to that server. That created some issues, so now we're moving all that information to the cloud. But all of this has started a very robust discussion about our ILS, and we are starting to shop for alternative ILSs. The survey team has denied the library's request for on-street parking along Old Post Road. There is still a hearing, so I will be going to the hearing and making our case again
Is there a specific
strongly.
reason, like, that they cited?
Yes, it would make the lane, it would affect the width of the lane, which I question, and it would impact the bike lane, which I also question. So I'm gonna be questioning. I'm gonna be asking a lot of questions.
Okay.
It was a surprise to myself. It was a surprise to our representatives over at the police department. It was a surprise to the selectman's office. So I'm really, if it's denied at the hearing, they will be hearing from me again in 6 months. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it in terms of my report. I'll hand it over to Jen to talk about the exciting things we have coming up.
So the big thing, of course, is summer reading for teens and children. The kickoff is this Friday at the museum, which was a good partnership we had last year. The museum does some activities. We do quite a lot of different things there. The Adult Services Department has a couple of authors coming in this month to their book clubs. John Clinch, who wrote The General and Julia, and author Constantine. We have had a huge to try something we've never done, and that is to have it in the first floor open space, which is not totally open right now, but it will be for the event. And now we think we can fit at least 100 or more people in there. So that's really exciting. And there's going to be a ukulele program all day long. There's one for children, teens, and adults, different sessions. And then, of course, Make Music Day. Also, we have all day long this time outside of the library music going on. That's on June 21st.
So Q3 statistics and strategic plan, we were only able to get an analysis of the Q3 statistics, so we'll be talking about strategic plan next month. There's really, these numbers pleasantly surprised me. I thought numbers were starting to soften a little, but it appears I was wrong. Really, the only numbers that have softened have been, shows this isn't overall attendance, this is just the average attendee of each children's program. And that really comes down to, we've done a few more programs to drive our numbers up. However, the programs we've done are limited in size, in other words, the amount of kids that are allowed in the program. So we're doing more, we're getting more people on the door, but that number is kind of getting thrown off by the fact that some of those numbers are a smaller group than we can accommodate. But other than that, I mean, Q3 of this, circulation went up, I mean, door count went up. It's really overall surprising to see some of these numbers.
So what's the difference in the numbers between program by population and attendance at? So if you look,
They're small, and I don't know, maybe less. Jan.
So, it's in the, you're talking about the yellow boxes and the box,
Yeah.
the white box.
Yep.
So the yellow box breaks it down by type or venue, shall we say, if the program was held at Maine or if it was held at Woods, if it was virtual or off-site. And then in those places, it's broken down by children, teens, and adults. So that comes out to the same number as just if you add it going down instead of across.
Yeah, just saying,
Supposed to.
those numbers don't add
No, they don't.
up. Just
They add
making
up
sure I
with the
wasn't,
top numbers.
I thought I was looking at that.
I
I
don't know
thought
why
I was
that
looking
is.
at it the right
No,
way. and it's just-
Actually, just look at the top. Don't even look at
Okay.
it, because that, those numbers were supposed to, they were supposed to come from the
One's
top.
up by 20, the other's up, down by 20.
Okay.
So the
Teens is
adult
pretty well.
attendance is
Either way.
correct.
It's okay, I just wanna make sure that I was reading it the right way. That's fine.
I balanced from
But
the
still-
first section to the second section, but I
Yeah, there's
guess I
20
didn't balance the
Yeah,
last
there's 20
section.
people.
But it does look like that there's quite a few, the teen participation is up versus last year in Q3, based on the one below.
Quite a
That's-
bit.
Yeah, 1598 versus 893. I mean, even if they're the same population, that's significant growth, and I feel like it reiterates our need for a teen librarian here as well, to continue that growth, so that's great.
Why would virtual programs be up so much? I would think that would be going the opposite.
We,
Yeah,
we keep saying that.
I think more people be in person,
Yeah,
now
that's,
comfortable doing.
We had almost 400 people, I think, look at the OBOT.
Virtually?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we're only allowed to record in a certain time period for the state.
Yeah,
So, I mean, it's really a snapshot of how many days.
oh, children's, when they do their take-home kit.
Yep.
That, those count virtually, and
virtual.
even the people who don't take.
Participants and like kind
Uh,
of blew us away.
yeah.
So, in the summer, remember, these are pretty much winter numbers. So I think we'll probably see a trend every winter of more individuals participating online because they don't want to drive in the dark. They don't want to drive on the roads if the roads are bad, and they may be watching from somewhere warmer.
yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, these are some of the winter numbers, and I think
Yeah.
that could be a reflection of that as well. Snowbirds probably still
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
stay in touch,
Yeah.
so.
That's great. That's great.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much. We're in the report that your report due to the state policy that we discussed last.
oh, Stephanie, you're cutting it out, in and out a little bit.
Okay, so I put everything in the chat. My question was.
Jan, so if you scroll, yeah, if you could just open the chat. Would it be okay if people speak up? Yeah. Yep. we're good. There are any of the two incident reports in Maine due to children and teen space policy.
No. Really, they weren't, the new policies wouldn't necessarily speak to the behavior. That's a good question. For the most part, we're still following a somewhat stringent policy. So, I don't know if the policy would really impact. I'm looking now. Yeah, one was a Mahjong kit. I'm trying to remember what the other two were, but I don't think they were really youth related. I think they had to do with generally just, one was an adult. I can't remember what the other was. And yes, we would love representation at the hearing. That's at 4:30 on the 12th. So that's Wednesday. And you will see me running between like 3 meetings that evening, so it'd be great to have someone else there to kind of speak to the issue.
All right. Next item is the website update.
Website, we're just moving along. Things are looking good. Right now, they're grabbing content from the website. So we're going through some of that content and saying what needs to be added, what needs to be taken away. We're having staff do that. So, we're looking at a timeline. My guess is probably August, early September will be a soft launch, but we will definitely present to the board when we have comparables. Because they will put something on their server that's somewhat live that we can look at with the functionalities.
Sandbox.
Yep.
Perfect. Great. All right. Moving into our committee/liaison reports. Fundraising committee, Peter, anything to update? You're on mute. Jen, you can keep the chat up there in case Stephanie wants to write things in.
If I see anything, I'll.
Wait a second.
Oh.
Okay, I changed computers. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Scott and I still haven't met, and actually, it's probably now my fault. I've been out on my back. In fact, going to need surgery again. So my mobility has been rather limited. Did you hear me?
Yes, we did. Unfortunate to hear that. So
Yeah.
Peter, one of the things that we discussed in our last meeting with Stephanie joining the board, she has some background in fundraising, is to have you and Stephanie working together with some of this stuff.
That'd be
And
great.
Scott, so at some point that way, we'll dual path some of this stuff. She can coordinate as well with the friends. Just an extra body on there couldn't hurt.
Well, at this point, I probably will not be available till mid-July.
Okay.
All right. Actually, I'm going to know a lot more tomorrow, but that's what
Best
it
of
looks
luck.
like at this stage.
Best of luck. So we will keep that in mind, and yeah, Stephanie, we'll Scott, if you want, potentially when you guys do the tour, have
We
some-
can talk.
Yeah. Yep. That would be great. Ad hoc building committee, I know when we spoke last, yep, Stephanie, that works. With regards to the ad hoc building committee, we had talked about doing some walkthrough earlier. It didn't work out for everyone, so we had talked about potentially discussing some of the potential improvements, but as we didn't do the walkthrough, the new trustees will be doing one next week.
Next week.
Next week.
And still, members of the board who are not are more than welcome to come on the tours.
Yes. I'm in Texas. But we would still like to continue, so have that in mind as you're doing the tour of the improvements that's, the space, how it's being utilized currently. We did a walkthrough with Scott and with Nancy several months ago, myself, Aaron, and Chris. So we have our thoughts, but to have the full board have an idea with that would be great. So we can add that to our list for our next meeting. And then we do not have Donna today for Friends of the Library. Did she submit anything?
No, we didn't receive anything, did you?
I didn't know.
They're kicking butt.
They are doing amazing.
Amazing.
It did a really, really lot during the spring months, and so I think they have a little pause right now.
Yeah, from the post that I saw on Instagram, like the author luncheon was
Oh, it was fantastic.
quite well attended. Did you guys? Was good.
It was really good.
Fantastic. Good. No, it looked like a great event. So we'll look to hear more next month. All right. With that, I'll hand it over to Erin for the treasurer's report.
Sure. The funds as of the end of May were up to 9.6 million, so up from last month where we were about 9.3. So just over 7.5% year to date through the end of May. I met with our advisor, Dan Voss, last Thursday, So as everyone remembers, he's now with Mercer, who switched over. So I just wanted to talk to him about how things have been going. From his standpoint, it's really business as usual. He did take a look at our portfolio and doesn't have any recommendations to switch anything at this point. He did say that Mercer has a contract with Vanguard. I believe he said 18 months. So the assets have to remain custodied with Vanguard for that 18-month period. But he believes, he wasn't 100%, but he believes after that, then there's more flexibility. So at that point, he'd review the portfolio, see if there's any other options that we should go towards. But we're really too early.
Yeah.
So I told him basically we'll check in 6 months. We're talking a year and a half, 2 months 2 years down the line. But as of this point, he doesn't see any changes in the immediate future, nor can he recommend changes.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
one of the things we had that conversation when we chose them initially, that we weren't looking for an actively managed
Correct, yes,
portfolio
yeah.
manager. So we do want to, which we know Vanguard is pretty well structured for that. So if they bring something to us, we'll listen, but I don't foresee that being an issue.
Yeah, I mean, our main goal when we did it originally was just to minimize fees as much as possible
Correct.
and, play with the market, not try to beat it or do anything like that.
Yeah, so we're gonna check back in towards the end of the year to see if anything's changed on his end, but as he said, he isn't seeing much changes so far under Mercer's umbrella.
Good. All right, on to the reconciliation and check registry. So taking a look, please raise any questions with regards to anything that is on here. And then we'll look to approve the charges and checks to be cut this coming month.
Just in general, these museum passes that we always see on here, are those typically an annual? Okay, it's a fee for an annual library pass.
And some are for, it says how many passes you have for. Great variation in cost
Yeah.
and policies.
So these are still really checks, right? Meaning not ACHs.
Pardon?
These are really all going to be checks that are cut. Physically cut.
Yes.
Okay.
Which I will sign tomorrow, I promise.
I'm
Do
sure
we,
you
but there haven't been any, excuse me, any ACH charges?
We haven't
alongside?
figured that out.
Okay. So we have Amazon 4 from Amazon, looks like.
Yes, we have the historical information, of course, on
On
all the bank activity, regardless of.
Yep.
It's a check or ACH.
but you're not
Description.
approving ACH.
Future.
Yeah.
These are all, by the way, they're all Friends pass-through.
The checks are.
The expenses that were not checks.
Oh, so like the foundation, foundation center, Amazon, well, those are all pass through for,
Well, Foundation Center is.
is us, yes.
Yeah, and I think that's it.
Any other questions? All right, do we have a motion?
So moved. Do you hear me? Yeah, so moved.
Yeah, we can hear you, Peter.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. Moving to our next item of business is a policy review discussion. So we had teased this last month with regards to the internet and computer use policy. Scott, do you want to take us through what we need to look at with regards to this?
This is really just a policy that's been updated from 2017 that we didn't even know we had. So it would come up when you would register onto the physical computers. We actually didn't list it under a policy, but it was a board approved, or the policy we currently have, computer use policy currently exists. So we took that policy, and when you are asked to vote on it, you will be rescinding that policy and replacing it with this policy. So looking at that policy, we wrote this new internet and computer use policy, which has been looked at, written by administration, looked at by staff, and approved by legal counsel. It really looks pretty much like every other library's computer policy. There's nothing really here that
Froze again, John.
stands out. But what it does is protects the library. Our previous desktop computer, and it also touches on how much staff are able to help individuals with their computers and their devices. So I think it's helpful. It's a little bit, we took a little bit from the Darien Library, we took a little bit from my last shop, the Albany Public Library, combined them, mixed them up, and then sent them over to Phil, and he seemed to approve that with some changes in verbiage.
Great.
But this is for you all to look over for the next month and then come back with any concerns.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott, on that. So we will take a look at that next month. Our next item of business is unfinished business from last month. And this is the unattended adults and children's department policy, as well as the proposed children's and teen spaces policy to replace it. Scott, do you want to, there was obviously a lot of discussion with Phil last week with regards to the legal language regarding our proposed new, our current, there was quite a bit of disagreement in terms of how it impacted or how that decision that he was referring to related to this particular policy. So Scott, any additional things you've got from Phil? I don't think I saw anything.
So I put in there should be two versions of this in the packet. The two versions, I have the first, okay.
Is it the one email?
Going to send us some.
We got it, and this, but it didn't make it, this, just see if it made it into the packet.
Is it the one from last month? The missing one?
There's two.
There should be two versions.
There's two in the email.
So there's two in the email, there's not two in the printed, so let me just look real quick. If you all have the ability to look at the packet online, let's see, is there any way you could run upstairs, look at the packet online, and print the two different versions
That you sent in the email?
that I sent in the email, and it should also be the one that's posted on the website.
Which one?
Is there some, Scott,
How can
is
you tell
there a
us?
third?
There's a third.
Okay,
So there's the one that
two
was,
draft.
yeah, so there's, what happened is this printed one is from the Word document, not the PDF document.
Is this it?
No, there should be two versions of the unattended adults and children's department
Because
policy.
this is what I got from what you sent via email.
No, there's the unattended, there's two of the children's and teen
Yes,
spaces.
there's two of the children's and teen spaces.
And there should be two what?
Yeah, there's one draft and there's one contract.
Yeah.
Okay, recommend.
Okay,
Oh, which one? The teen or the adult?
The T one is, there's a draft and then there's it's like a final copy.
so there should be two versions. One's the legal version. So I sent one version over to Phil. Phil then replied with two versions, one which he calls the middle of the road version, which was the part he was advocating for. It's why it's kind of important to look at both of them. So let me,
Did he get back? I think he was going to look into whether any other libraries have.
so those are in my notes. There's two things from it. No, so I will say that they're not objecting to the library's version of the policy. So there's no strong advocacy to go for the more middle of the road. The only issues they had with was the language in that policy, which is,
Oh, was this from last month? I think I have that.
no, it's a new version, it's a brand new version. So let me just. So, probably the best way to see. Agendas and minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so if you look at the packet online, there are two versions. One, it has just a dark title, Children's and Teen Spaces.
Yep.
And then there's one with a red title which says draft. So really the big difference is the use of the term is the final paragraph that says sections of the library designated teen spaces are designed for library users ranging from grade 6 through 12, library users outside of the age appropriate range who desire to view or borrow materials housed in the teen space are encouraged to receive the desired items and bring them elsewhere in the library to review. So in the library's version of the policy, it says the activities, technology, and manipulatives provided in the children's and teen spaces are intended for patrons at their appropriate developmental stage. As outlined in the library code of conduct, loitering in such spaces is unacceptable. Staff may ask adult patrons to use designated areas of the library that are more age appropriate. So that's the difference. The difference really is that last paragraph where it does not give the staff the ability to ask someone to leave the space. And it doesn't talk about activities, technology, and manipulatives, which I do think is really important, and that they're intended for the appropriate developmental stage.
And you said that Bill did not have an issue, it was just that.
I mean, he does not like the library's version. He's worried that the library's version may lead to litigation. However, in their research, there has been no lawsuit regarding age discrimination in children's libraries or schools.
Yeah, language that we grabbed, we grabbed it.
Really, our original, well, the intention was from the original policy. This was something that we just kind of came up from working as a group together with. Something that would empower our staff if there's an uncomfortable situation to be empowered to at least be able to speak to people about whether or not their use of this space was appropriate.
I'm sorry, so the draft is the one
The one that has the red
This is the
headline,
library's version. This is-
current,
Yes. And then-
not current,
the one that we want to, or
Yes.
that we wanted to
the one that the
approve before we
library
learned
administration
about
is
this
suggesting.
issue.
With changed language that kind of speaks to the legal concerns of the attorney.
Mhm.
And then the other was, I sent this one over to him, which he vetted. And then he sent me over the first one, which just is children's and teen spaces,
Correct.
is not read. And that's where really encouraged to receive desired items and bring them out from the library tour.
So that's the big change.
And it doesn't speak to the fact that there are toys and other things in the children's room
Mhm.
that adults might use.
Really, why? What do you need?
How often does that last sentence
Yeah.
come into play? Staff may ask adult patrons to use designated areas of the library that are more age appropriate.
Probably every 2 months. Sometimes, you just get an individual who's walked in off the street. They decide the children's area is really where they want to camp out because there's more space. Sometimes you have individuals who are there and acting, loitering and expressing behavior that's not necessarily conducive to the environment.
Yeah, I think that I'm trying to see, it doesn't seem like the middle of the road, it's the, activities, technology, and manipulatives.
Yeah.
Those 3 items don't seem like activities as well, seem to not be included in the other one. So that's the kind of thing, if there's something going on in the team room, like that's not intended for people, that kind of thing, it does from my perspective feel like that covers off on that pretty clearly and not in a way that is discriminatory, let's say. Chris, you weren't here for the full-on discussion.
No, but I can imagine what it was, because I can see from a legal perspective, there's some things that are potentially problematic within the way it was written, right? So the question comes down to is the way that it's his suggestion, the middle of the road, what sort of carve-outs does it give for staff to move someone away? Or is it the type of situation if they have an issue, they have to call like the police or something?
Yeah, well, so he doesn't have an issue with either of these versions. His concern is that in Connecticut, adults cannot be banned from children's programming, children's spaces. They should be allowed, in his interpretation, to participate in anything.
Right.
So, the middle of the road policy really does not give the staff the ability to say to someone, hey, maybe this isn't appropriate.
Right, no, that's what I'm saying, and that, I can imagine that being the hang up on the whole thing.
I think at this point, the exact note was, the way the terminology is used, we're not telling somebody they have to leave, therefore they were comfortable with this being presented to them.
I think my question would be, are you planning to tell your staff that they can't ask an adult to leave the children's space? Or,
No, I think it really leaves the staff in an uncomfortable position, and probably Jane and I are gonna get a lot of phone calls, or Nancy and we'll be the ones who will be asked to handle the situation because it's so.
so then I think the policy needs to back up the staff.
And that was really our concern last meeting, was giving the staff the ability where they can't tell the patron, they can say, Chris, could you please leave the children's room? And the next thing isn't, or else we're going to call police. our hope is that people then get the hint and go, okay, this is inappropriate to be in this space.
But if they then ask to see the policy and just hypothetically, this person sees, okay, well, I'm encouraged, but that doesn't mean I have to leave, then I see that being an issue between this person and the staff.
I think the minute someone asks for a policy, they're going, my joke is always, when someone asks me, where's the sign saying I can't do this, my retort is always, I am the sign. And, I'm letting you know as a staff member. Anytime anyone's ever asked me for written policy, I know right there, we're going down a road, which which is gonna be argumentative.
So if they ask for the policy, I mean, under Connecticut law, you can't tell them to leave anyway.
I was asked to leave the children's library a couple months ago. Cause I always get there early when we're at that one, and I brought my book and I was just gonna sit at the table, so I didn't have to sit on the floor in the hallway. And they told me I couldn't stay there.
Because right now that's the policy.
Yeah, and I forgot. I mean, I should have known I said here and listen. I just was like looking for a table, but I was like, okay, sorry. I just went on the floor in the hallway because someone unlocked the door.
So I
So
mean,
they do.
they
do it.
do enforce it, and there has been issues. Which, and I've gotten called for some of them. We had an individual who wanted to read to the dog. We have a dog that you can read to. And there were some concerns. Then they started speaking to children and it became an uncomfortable situation.
Yeah, I just think that if that's sort of the internal agreement, then the policy should back it up. But that's personally how it's done.
So is the issue that, this one versus the other, is this, do you think you'll still get, not complaints, but concerns from the staff?
Any change in policy that rolls back kind of enforcement will always get a little bit of pushback from staff, but this has been vetted by the children's department head and the teen services department head, and they are comfortable with this language.
And how about the other one?
Not as comfortable because it doesn't back up the staff and give the staff the ability to say, hey, and this way if somebody complains to me, I can say, it's actually our policy to remind people and it's the appropriate place. And that's the idea. I mean, when I see a kid in the stacks, in the adult stacks, it's always, I don't say, hey, you can't be here, kid. My comment is usually like, hey, what are you looking for? What do you need help with? Is this the most fun spot you can be?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Same for the other side of the coin as well. Stephanie makes a point in the chat. Intended for patrons at their appropriate developmental stage. I know we had the issue was raised that if we put it to grade, that is a proxy for age, which is understandable, but it does make a valid point of appropriate developmental age, which we know can vary by age. So it does feel like that's a bit of a CYA.
But this wording, theoretically, adults who are developmentally still at a child's stage
Well,
would capture that.
We have that previous policy. So the children's room, the children's policy that we passed in the previous months speaks to that. It also speaks to the fact that our staff are allowed to make, for specifically groups that we're thinking of in the teen room, are allowed based on IEPs, speaking with teachers, speaking with aides to make adjustments to that age range.
Yeah.
So if we were asked that, then we would show them the other policy, which is
It does also speak to caregivers as well. So there would be a certain expectation where, so that they're not being disruptive, that they're not making people uncomfortable, there is an aspect of that as well included. So, sorry, David.
No, it's okay. I mean, just appropriate, maybe, sort of something like patrons at a child's developmental stage.
I think that's where, as to Scott's point of when you think about the adjusting the age according to developmental progress, that it does, we do have fortunately policies in place that do address that. And so we could refer back to that, in my estimation. So, any other thoughts with regards to the two versions, the removal of the unintended adults policy, their input? Aaron, thoughts from you?
I mean, I like the policy that gives the staff more comfort, which is
Yeah.
the additional paragraph.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're gonna, in most scenarios, we cover a situation very similarly, but again, like, what if Scott can't immediately get upstairs or whatever it may be, someone's out and you don't want your staff to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I just think that, I mean, the risk, I think, is worth it for the comfort of the staff.
I completely agree.
It's also the comfort of the public as well,
Yeah.
because if you complain to a staff member and then the staff member says there's nothing
Mhm.
I can
They're gonna
do,
feel,
Yeah.
that's really
Exactly, that's a
making
very
the
good
space
point.
uncomfortable. But, and again, say, I spoke to them, they're there, we're gonna keep an eye on them. That gives you the ability. And also, I don't want staff to feel like they're completely powerless in the situation. Because the minute, we go, okay, now it's being appropriate, they're using an appropriate language. Now we can ask them to leave for that reason.
Yeah, because the librarian in the children's center should be the first line.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
And they should be, people don't catch the nuance of, wouldn't you like to go down? Wouldn't downstairs be better? It sounds like you're being polite.
Yeah.
Not being legally wishy-washy.
so it does sound like the prevailing thought is to adopt the draft version, as we don't need to have it.
Yeah.
Correct.
Now, once it's voted on, it's really.
So, because this will replace the unintended adults policy, we will have to first vote to strike that from our policies. So do we have a motion to remove the unintended adults policy?
So moved.
We have a second?
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. So moved. Now, moving towards the replacement, the children and teen spaces policy, we will be adopting we look to adopt the draft version. So, I don't think we call out for this draft, we'll just confirm this one. But do we have a motion to adopt the children and teen spaces policy?
I so move that we adopt the draft.
The library board of trustees adopts the
The
children.
library board trustees adopts the draft.
Yeah.
The children's and teen spaces policy.
Perfect.
I'll second.
All in favor? All right, so moved. So, we will add this one. We don't need to note that it's the draft one, it's the one that we agreed upon. That will become the new policy. Scott will say, just, keep us posted with how the staff is feeling about this. Obviously, we made this decision, we feel that this would be a better version of the, language. So we want to make sure that we are keeping that in mind. So with that, we're done with unfinished business. And I will move to new business. And before we go into new business, one thing I do want to note, I forgot to mention in my chairman's report, this is Chris Rogers' last meeting as a trustee, last board meeting as a trustee. So thank you, Chris, for your service.
That's going to the July meeting,
Yeah.
just in the beginning.
Oh, man.
Just in the beginning. And then you eat some crackers, and then go.
Yeah. Say hi to the other old trustees.
All of you have trustees? All right.
Everybody, old trustees as well, yes.
When is that, by the way?
July.
8th?
8th, yeah, I think so. Yes. Yeah,
July 8th, yes.
you said you were free when we talked about it, Chris, so.
You know, you see my
I'll
schedule.
hold you to
You
it.
can bring the crew.
Right now, we're in the middle of like 3 kids playing summer baseball.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, good luck with that. All right, so first thing on the new business is the 2025 trustee budget. Scott, do you want to just talk through a little bit of this?
So you'll see and Jan will explain some of this. I'll explain the proposed budget. She'll take the page 2. But what Jan's done a great job of creating is an income line and an expense line. So our projected income for fiscal year 2025 is the transfer from invested funds. Thank you, Erin, which is about $112,000, really almost $113,000. So that'll be recorded as income. Then the rest of the income is actually money from the Friends, or money that we'll be asking for from the Friends. So that's One Book, One Town, Friends program support, and then museum pass gifts. So then on the expense line, we've left board administration at $7,000. We've kept about $30,000 in for website. That's gonna cover the remaining balance and any additional costs. So we do project that coming in under, but we wanted a little bit of pad just in case things came up. Then $12,000 for professional development. That's not an increase. That's what we use for both board members and staff for additional training. Then we've got the strategic plan, because we will be coming up on at least renewing or kind of
Yeah,
a shorter strategic
Good-
plan process.
good to build that in there, and that's something we have some.
So we have that at 20,000 because I know the costs of that have actually gone up. So it's about $16,000 last time we did it, but I just wanted to build in that amount just in case. Then the Woods branch project. So this is the projected cost of an architect for the branch project. You know, the board did discuss doing an RFP. I want to talk about a timeline next month about what the timeline for that looks like. So I actually
Can
wanted.
we get a quote? That's a very specific one.
We haven't gotten a quote, but that's based on what we've seen
Okay.
at other libraries. Yeah, the 829 is really just money that we had left over that we.
It's a goal.
Okay.
That's a goal seek right there.
So
We don't think it's gonna be more.
it might be more.
I was about to say, because that seems very reasonable
Okay.
based on someone who's paying for an architect right now.
Architect right now. Okay, that's good to know. So, and again, we may not even spend that amount, but we'll see as we move forward. And then $15,000 for facilities and furniture. Really for this year, it's really only looking at like repair and replacement of library furniture. Nothing new this year, but we always do have a chair break or something go wrong, or like a desk that we want to purchase. So that's a reasonable amount in there. Miscellaneous, like volunteer appreciation, we left that at the same amount. Now we get down to the Friends support, which is the pass-through. Last year's budget was $16,000 for OBOT, but we will be asking the Friends for $20,000. So we'll see if we get that amount. So this may change, or we might have a better idea after next week's Friends meeting. And then that $2,000 is out there. We're looking to see if we get money from other avenues. This is a signature event for us. I know this is a significant increase in the budget. However, based on last year, the author circuit has become more and more expensive. Venue costs have also become more expensive. So that's kind of what we're looking at for the budget that year, for this year. Friends program support, we're actually not asking for more from them because we based this off of projected end of year spending and last year's spending, and we pretty much came a little bit under in terms of this. And then the museum pass gifts, we don't really see a change there. We don't see any of the museums costing more this coming fiscal year. Then if you look at the second page of this is way more complicated, so I'm handing it over to someone more capable than
So, it's not so complicated, but in the, way back, I used to do a, report on these funds every month, and they weren't often spent, so we kind of did away with that, but these are the remaining balances in these funds. Up at the top, the other established funds are, not invested in anything, they're just cash that we have, on hand as part of the revolving fund. But there is also the Vanguard revolving fund, which is around 70 something.
Yeah,
thousand.
72, 73 right now.
So some of that top money is in there, I don't know, it's not, like when we draw down the money, I don't know, it's a little bit confusing to me. But there is a portion of it that represents these named funds. So at some point in time, these funds were invested. And you can see in the restricted column that that is the amount that was originally invested. And the amount that is spendable from the interest that has gathered over the years is in the far right column. And as you can see, they're designated for certain purposes, which is why we don't spend it down regularly, because they're kind of, some of them are a bit unusual.
So really, they should,
Subject of antiques is not a really hot topic.
What's
Well,
that?
It's a lot of money for antiques.
we'll be buying antique, the cost of antique books will be covered for a very long time.
We do use the Smith Fund, Children's Department uses that. I think we kind of would like to spend down some of this a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, so it seems like some of these are relatively, mystery books, children's library materials, although that was 207.
Yeah, that one does get
Books in
used.
memory of John Draper.
So that's
Nice of
pretty much general,
Yeah, it seems.
unrestricted-ish.
Yeah, so,
So didn't seem like that should be part of the budget, it's just like
Agreed.
separate.
and normally most of it seems like it's materials, books for the library as opposed to, furniture, things of that nature. So, yeah, I think there's that, the Smith Fund does have programs with significant impact, so.
Yeah, we do use that one.
But yeah, just keeping us abreast of these would be great.
So this should be voted on by the board next month, so
Yes.
if you have questions.
Yeah. Well, Scott, we'll talk, I mean, and Chris, just with regards to the architect piece,
Okay.
so we do some thinking around that.
I just have a question, if, my thought is just always things like that are always more than we think as well. What would that mean, like, would we just, once it's approved, is it,
No, you can be, so
like, if we were to get a quote later on?
you really want, so you want to, this is more nonprofit accounting than it is municipal accounting.
Mhm.
And nonprofit, as you know, nonprofit accounting, you can do a budget modification. I mean, you can do a budget modification in municipal accounting, but you can do a budget modification anytime you want.
Great.
It's really just, if the board itself was to be audited at some point,
Mhm.
it's good to show you have a budget, and then if there's an unexpected expense, do a budget modification, or just be over budget. You have enough funds set aside, at the end of the year, you just accept the budget and accept, but it's really just saying, for an auditor and for a director and for the public, it's really just saying, you all are telling us how to spend the money, or agreeing on how the money should be spent, and then holding us accountable to how it was spent. And we need to be able to explain why we may have gone over budget. It's, and the other possibility is the strategic plan doesn't cost as much. It only costs 15,000 again, and then the architect, if it's 30,000, then we've covered that cost.
The transfer from invested funds, Scott, where'd you get that number?
From our treasurer.
That's the.
That is the 2%, so that's the 2% that was calculated as of last July 1st, so it's 2% on a rolling 12 forward. But that's, remember, we didn't fund for almost 2 years.
Yeah, we did the catch up that we.
So technically, what Scott has included in the full year 25 is 12 months ended. Technically, the beginning of fiscal year 24, which in, real time is July 1st, 2023.
Yeah.
And that number can change, so if you all decide.
And it's significantly lower than, because that includes, 4, 5 quarters where we were significantly down during COVID.
So the
So,
way it's built up, the 12, like,
Yeah, there's-
you got the ramp up, you got the
Yeah,
ramp down,
no, I
remember looking at it, it didn't change.
I calculated it for what it would be as the end of the month with the estimate. It's slightly higher. I mean, we're talking about, was it $10,000-$15,000 higher for the fiscal year, like the technical one for fiscal
Yeah.
25.
Yeah.
Just,
And I think
But
that might be something you wanna look at that policy again, or that decision again, and maybe put the timeline and how it informs the next budget.
Yeah.
So in other words, look at, say, okay, it's 2% as of this cycle in the fiscal year, and then will be used for the next year's
So we
spend.
did that though, I thought it was after like Q2 or something like that.
it was what?
I thought it was like after Q2, I thought there was a specific,
Okay,
like when we passed it or something like that, or no, you want to
I
say
thought it
at
was
the end of the year.
It was the end of the fiscal year, 12 quarters for what my recollection was, 12 quarters at the end of the fiscal year for the next fiscal year.
Right.
So the end of June would be the
Oh, so I
fund
thought
fiscal
it
year
was, I thought it was,
25.
I thought it was the end of December, whatever, in this case,
2000.
December 23, Q4 23,
Yeah.
looking backwards, I thought we were calendar year.
Calendar year for that versus,
Yeah, so the funds would transfer over theoretically on Jan 1.
uh,
But I
that
could
actually might be helpful. Because if you're using your income, if you're setting your income on normal or on a regular calendar year, because you don't want to base your income based on, because you can't do the budget until after it's done. Do you know what I mean? So in other words, if you're
correct,
doing,
technically you wouldn't have a final number, the way I'm saying, until July 1st, if we weren't a year behind. Like right now, we're at least 6 months, if not a year behind.
so,
Okay. Okay,
And I have it somewhere in my email.
yeah, if you find that, Aaron, just share it with the.
I don't think the numbers will change that much, that the budget would change, but I think maybe
No,
it's
but
a
it
discussion.
should, but if we're looking at, 20,000 versus 30,000, with the architect, if it's a difference of, 10, 20,000, and maybe it then does impact, it's a question of we need to increase the drawdown, or we need to maintain it. So, I mean, in the end of the day, if we do decide and want to authorize, we can always vote it, but if we have the budget, we already know what's in here. I feel good about this so far.
This is all estimates.
So budgets are.
Guesses, giant guesses. Pencils and calculators.
Okay. Okay, all right, so we'll vote on this next month, and in the interim, we'll get some things.
Yeah, but either way you calculate it, either way, we're behind a year. So you have to keep that in mind too, meaning we skipped a year of doing this all together.
So Stephanie has a question. I'm pretty comfortable with the proposed budget because it's what we came up with. Nothing gives me agita about the figures or estimates. A great use of agita. So I'm pretty confident. The board just started doing this, so I'm just happy that we're in this process and going through this process. And I think we'll just sharpen it as time goes on. And we do have a gift acceptance policy, and the town does as well. Actually, no, we don't have a gift.
We don't have,
No, we don't. That's actually something I would like to say.
With,
That's why.
we discussed,
this is like about 4 years ago.
we discussed fundraising as a board versus friends. That was one of the conversations that we, because they're the 501c3.
Yeah, but we did have a conversation around gift acceptance, but this was,
2020, I have a draft here.
that sounds about right.
Yeah, so it's probably right before.
4 years ago. Yeah, it was right before, it was right when, I remember Duncan and I were talking about it at the time.
Okay. But yeah, let's revisit that. Chris, feel free to chime in. Oh, wait. All right. So with that, we go to our next item of business, which is the new trustee search. So for that, we will move into executive session. Do we have a motion to move into executive session? Do we have a
So
second?
moved.
Do we have a second? All in favor?
Okay, so, okay, we've got meeting room enabled, correct?
We should,
Okay, so just hit pause in the recording.
up top on the right. With that, we come out of executive session. We will be scheduling a follow-up meeting, special session with the trustees to finalize our decision. That, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All right, all in favor? All right. With that, our meeting is adjourned at 8:28 PM. Thank you, everyone, and we will speak soon.